We just got a huge power level announcement for Destiny 2 going forward regarding the Destiny 2 power level grind that players have been experiencing for the last decade, almost since Destiny 1. As we are at almost the end of the Light and Dark saga ending in 2024 with the final shape, basically a year away, expect many huge changes for the game, starting off with the biggest concern to many, which is the light and power level grind. That is the foundation of our base Guardian. When it comes to playing any activity in the game, not only do we have to get weapons and gear to lift this power, but also play the game for base XP to help an artifact to lift the power as well. As you can see, a new Light Guardian and many players today can still feel confused and concerned on why the game is based like this. So, some feel that of course that a rework, a major rework needs to be made so that the experience for many Guardians can be better and more enjoyed, while some believe without this grind aspect that the game would feel meaningless. So some feel it's not right to remove, but instead do little reworks, but nothing to overhaul this entire grind. Players feel like a change needs to happen once Final Shape is over if Destiny will continue for another decade, which Bungie is planning to do. And many have left the game due to this, of course, power level grind. So as Lightfall is less than 2 months away, and the power level grind will still be a thing for activities, the Lightfall campaign for example, and of course the newest raid, what will happen? What new updates so far, Redrix, have you got on the power level? What's the anthem Bungie has recently said about this? So, Destiny Leaks said back in August, as I also made a video then, that many at Bungie during Season of the Splicer, which was a year 4 season after Beyond Light, was planning on doing a huge rework, like removing power levels entirely and making it all one big artifact level, with also being that the main way to rank up would be activities and not bounties. Of course, this change was probably planned to happen around Lightfall, but of course, as we are here now, Witch Queen was delayed, Bungie instead to make another expansion called the Final Shape, so it looks like this change is not going to happen in Lightfall, and Bungie has not said anything of course, back in the showcase, and has not said anything since about power levels, so don't expect it in Lightfall, unfortunately. And as well, another big thing that Destiny 2 Leaks has also said, of course, fast forward to now, we have also received more insight from Destiny Leaks about the power light level grind today, being that Bungie likely won't be touching power levels at the launch of Lightfall, so don't expect any major changes until later in the year. However, there could be smaller tweaks but no reworks until then. As you can see, it looks like a major rework is still being planned but not fully finished yet, as this grind that players have been dealing with all this time would affect everything, PvE wise and some PvP type content like trials for example. Bungie wants to start doing more to this, but as Destiny Leaks have just said, back of course for going forward, is that we won't see a massive change for the power light level grind aspect in Lightfall, but it looks like it will be very likely that either in the season in year 6 or the showcase event in 2023, which is looking like August 2023, that we will get a full reveal for the Final Shape expansion, that we might get a huge announcement on a rework for, of course, the grind. Destiny Leaks has also said that smaller tweaks could be happening now to then, and it looks like Lightfall in Season 20 could see this. We don't really know every quality of life change arriving in the expansion. I made a video, of course, of the Big 4, Big 5 that we got in the showcase back in August, but really nothing has been, of course, given to us. We don't know every huge change, so just be aware. So, a little change to grinding would be perfect for players as they really feel the last 2 seasons have been very repetitive lately, and the seasons overall, not seeing a change really until Season 22, but little tweaks of course until then has also been a concern for many. So, as we can overall take a wrap on this, Bungie plans to look into and adjust many concerns with that Destiny 2 has been lately of course this year, and start to make huge changes, but at the same time at a reasonable, slower pace before the saga is over. Bungie always finds a solution. I know not every single time is going to be the best solution, but for example, one of the biggest things that a lot of players hate was the bounty grind, and of course bounty still exists, but I don't say that the bounty grind is really bad as it was back in the day. Of course, we didn't really get bounties, at the launch of Destiny 2, but of course many were complaining of how everything was just bounty grind after bounty grind, and I gotta admit, still to this day, the seasonal challenges brought in Season of the Chosen was one of the best quality of life changes I love. Of course, I don't do all 72, 75, 78 seasonal challenges every season, determining if the season is a good season, of course. It still is a great change. I know that many don't feel that seasonal challenges offer always the best, of course, requirements, doing Gambit constantly each week, but it is much better to, of course, have a layout of what challenges to do, and of course it gives you a better insight on what the rewards will be and how many XP you will get for it later on. Bungie will always find a solution eventually, and that's something I can always trust. I know many of you might not say the same thing, same way, or say that Bungie still is, well, let's just not say on this YouTube video, and it is not something that I can 100% say a solution will be found next week. But to me, the power level thing has been something that Bungie has been looking at constantly. I went back to the House of Wolves expansion in 2015, and of course I believe it was May that it launched, and still this concern came up from a person in one of the Destiny forum posts. And of course we weren't looking at it deeply, but it really did long-term summarize that every time Bungie makes an expansion and the power level goes up, when will Bungie actually look into resetting it or doing a huge rework towards it? And the Taken King then came out, then of course Rise of Iron came out, and there really wasn't a significant rework in those two expansions. Taken King you can of course debate then, but then going forward throughout these next expansions, Destiny 2 Vanilla, that was one of probably the worst times for it, as many were complaining then that it was too easy to go up by power levels. Back with Curse of Osiris, we went up from 300 to 335, and of course then 335 to 385. If people joined in the Forsaken and Shadowkeep and they just sought out, heard that I just said 300, light power level, they were probably being like, damn, it's been a long time for Destiny. It has. And now with us almost reaching 1,700, likely for Lightfall to bring us to 1,800, 1,900, to be honest with you, we are leaning into having almost at 2,000 with our light power level. When will Bungie actually do a reset? And that's a whole other thing that we should really talk about in a future video, is if Bungie plans to do a huge rework or a huge tweak to the power level system, does that require or does that mean a rework within the power level, light level, ending it from the highest gap that it could be at and going back to 0? Many do feel that they shouldn't, of course, go back to 0, and a lot say that they should stay at some other number. And you can see the similarities with this, of course, if they want to do a rework to what the XP grind should be later on. So you got that whole conflict, and then of course you got the activities and just grinding aspect towards it. So we have a lot of questions, and Bungie plans to answer some of them in Year 6, but I could really expect more of it to be answered once Final Shape and the Light and Dark Saga is over. I wouldn't expect too big huge significant changes going forward, but again, Bungie can surprise us a bit. And I do feel that it won't be as bad as it was back in Year 1 or Year 2 if you really wanted to say power level was that bad. I feel like it's at a reasonable pace right now. I feel like, though, that Grandmasters and constantly leveling up to do those can be a bit repetitive. That's why I haven't really done any Grandmasters. And doing and power leveling up for, of course, any big activity like the Raid. But for example, the Legendary campaign, which was a huge hit coming out of the Witch Queen, we didn't really need, of course, to worry about power level as much because we already knew our power level was set on something. And the general difficulty for Destiny, many do feel that it should be lifted, and it should be harder for us to, of course, play activities with, especially the seasonal activities. The Seraph Battlegrounds, they lifted the generic power level up, so it would be more of a challenge for us, which I gotta say it was, and I do enjoy it a bit. So the general difficulty being up, and of course our light level being, paused at a certain level, will be great for us because we never need to worry about leveling up for something, as we know will be above 20, 30, 40, 50, for example. So again, that being said, I do feel like Bungie should lean into, of course, upping the general difficulty, but of course making the grind aspect a bit easier. But those are my thoughts. I hope you guys did enjoy. This was a good video on, of course, the power level news, and this is my first video of 2023, so why not subscribe and like and join our Discord. But other than that, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.